Periodically, UU Community Church holds special Generosity Sundays collections to support local organizations that promote justice, equity, and inclusion in our community. During the month of April, we will be collecting donations for Community Homeworks. We're delighted to be joined this morning by Community Homeworks Executive Director Chris Pradle and their Fund Development Specialist Nancy Servos to hear more about the organization and the work that they do. Chris, Nancy?
Good evening, everyone. Great to see you. Again, I'm Chris Pradle, Executive Director of Community Homeworks. It's wonderful to be here today with with my family, who's joining us here, and thank you so much for making it so welcoming to us. I think it's only fitting after our songs. We heard a little bit about water flowing. We see a lot of that in my work with Community Homeworks, but we also need somebody to lean on, right? And so we are that for the community, and I'm really pleased to be here with Nancy Servos, who's our Fund Development Specialist as well. So Community Homeworks, just want to raise of hands. How many people in the room here, and you can raise your hand, keep it up if you're able, have had something happen in the place that you live that has caused you stress in the last year? All right, yeah. You know, maybe it's the heat went out in the middle of winter and you're worried your pipes are gonna freeze. Maybe it's a trickle leak that came from the roof that you thought wasn't gonna cause any trouble. Maybe it was a toilet that overflowed, right? It is almost as sure as paying taxes and death that if you own a home or if you're in a place where you're living, that things will go wrong. The reality is that so many of us have the opportunity, if something goes wrong, that we have somebody to call. We have maybe some savings to tap into to help us. We maybe have a credit card. Maybe we can tap into a home equity line to do those repairs, or call somebody, a family or friend, for help. But at Community Homework, so many of the people we serve have nowhere to turn when these things that happen to you and to us occur. So Community Homeworks exists for two main reasons. It was founded in 2009, and it's here for critical home repair, so for health or safety issues in a home for homeowners. And then we also provide empowering education. So if it's not something that we can help somebody with, we want to empower that homeowner to learn how to do the home repairs or maintenance in their home too, and bless you. And so we exist mainly for those two prime reasons. And so this is an integral part to the housing crisis. And oftentimes when I'm doing these presentations, I'll put a picture of a boat that's sinking on the screen. And there's a lot of great organizations, and we need these organizations that are helping to empty the buckets of water out of that boat as it's sinking, right? But we are an organization that's plugging that hole. Because the reality is in a housing crisis, if there's hundreds, if not thousands of people who are losing the homes they want to stay in, then it's going to be even harder for the people who are struggling to find a place to live. We are a homelessness prevention strategy. So many of the homes that we serve, that is the alternative, either temporary or permanent displacement. I think very, very often of a mother with two children who was homeless in her own driveway because her house had been condemned. Now think about that for a second. In the city of Kalamazoo, a person is homeless in their driveway, right? Living in their car. So this work is so critically important to our community. I'm so proud of the work that we're doing, and it's making a significant difference in the lives of people we serve. Beyond that, you think to yourself about, where should home be? Home should be the place that we kick up our feet and we can feel relaxed and chill. But for so many of the families that we serve who are already going through so much and have so many challenges that they're facing in their lives, home is the place that's causing them some of the greatest stress and grief. And I cannot tell you the look on people's face when we walk out of that home and we finally taken care of that issue, and you can just see the weight just alleviate off that person's shoulders, that family's shoulders, the impact it has on sometimes multiple generations that are living in the home, including kids. So I really appreciate the chance to be here. I'm going to hand it over to Nancy here for a second, who's going to share two somewhat recent stories of households that we served. So thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning. And excuse me, like all of you, the drive-in was beautiful, so I appreciate being here. I came from the Winchell neighborhood and up Oakland Drive, and it's definitely springtime, so that's really good news. Yeah, a couple stories. I feel that there's a lot of power in stories, and we can relate to each other through our stories. And as you raise your hand saying that something is happening in all of your homes and all of your lives in the past year, that's what we find with our participants. And so I want to give you just a couple of examples of stories that we ran into just fairly recently. One is a middle-aged, maybe young middle-aged mom. I don't know how we define that, but she is a mom, she's a wife, and she's a homeowner in our neighborhood, actually, and a nursing student. So she was studying hard for nursing school, and she had a bad roofing job completed. They needed a new roof. She was able to get that somehow, but she heard at work that when they were finished, oh, we took down your chimney. And she's thinking to herself, thankfully, she thought to herself, my hot water heater vents through that chimney. And so she says, that's not okay. And so she called us and she said, I have a hot water heater that has no place to vent. And we knew that's a code red for us. So we brought our teams out to her house and realized, sure enough, she, without having called us, she could have lost her entire family because of the ventilation and the carbon monoxide in the home. And so we quickly went to work. That was a very acute need. And we gave her a new hot water heater that vented in a different way so it was safe. And that's the key thing that we do. We don't go in and make homes pretty, we make them safe. And so we could leave that home knowing that she, her husband, and her kids were safe. I didn't come into this whole picture until the very end. And at the very end, I said, what did that feel like? She said, Nancy, you have no idea. She said, if this was Christmas time without hot water and teenagers, she says, I would have went the entire winter as a nursing student without hot water and teenagers. That would not have been good. And so she was extremely grateful. She is now a graduate of nursing school. She is gainfully employed as a nurse that's specializing in cardiovascular care. So that was a kind of a lean on me situation that I'm just thrilled for her, and I can't wait to catch up with her and see how her job is going. Another story that I can kind of relate to as a Nana is one of an older lady. I called her a senior citizen, and she corrected me. She goes, I'm not a senior citizen, I'm a seasoned citizen. So I said, okay, let's do that. And she lived in a house for 30 years, and there was a lot going on with her house that was just getting overwhelming for her, a woman that lives on a fixed income. And she came to us and kind of gave us the list of the high priority items. And she said, I've lived in that house for 30 years. Now, the average age of the houses we work on is close to 100 years old. So you can imagine what can go wrong with a 95-year-old home. So in her case, we went in, we assessed some of the huge safety needs. We fixed them, and again, I came in after it was all over with, and I said, what was that like? And she said, well, that's the home I've had for 30 years, and I raised my kids in. And I says, oh, wow. And she says, and that's not the end of it. And I says, well, what's the end of it? And she says, well, the end of it is that when I was a little girl, I used to visit this house. And I said, how did that happen? She goes, it was my aunt's house. So this is a house that had been in her family forever almost. And so I just left that conversation thinking, that's a house that means a whole lot. It's more than the walls, it's more than the ceiling. That's where her heart is. And today she now takes care of her grandchildren in that house. So it's a multi-generational house that she can live safely in. When I talked to her, she said, before you guys came, I was afraid to go to sleep because the walls would get hot, and I was afraid of the electrical. I feel so much safer now. And she's one of our dear, dear friends who will come in and just visit us. So anyway, that's just two of dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of the people that lean on us and we just work together just to be part of their community. So anyway, just wanted to share those with you this morning. Thank you.
So you heard a couple of these stories as well, and in terms of the impact, I'm sure a question many people ask is how many people are you serving? You know, how broadly are you doing this work as well in our community? So last year we served 233 households. And again, you know, about 40% of those were households with young children in the home. Next time you're driving through a typical neighborhood, you know, just do some of the quick math as you're zooming by and think to yourself how many homes it takes to drive by 233 homes. And imagine if every year 233 homes went offline in our community, what kind of an impact it would not only have on community and neighborhoods, but families and individuals. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. Hope you learned a little bit more about Community Homeworks. I left some information in the back table there. One of the best compliments you can pay to us is if you know of somebody or another group that we can come speak to, we'd be honored to do that and spread the word about the work that we're doing. So thank you so much. Happy Sunday, and thanks for the opportunity to be here.